sense of rhythm, a sense of tempo, a sense of straightness on straight lines and being bent on bent lines, we begin creating the horse's natural balance as it's moving along underneath us. And when a horse becomes balanced, something that is in horses when they are unbalanced. What happens with the horse when it's unbalanced? What does it do mostly when you see it unbalanced? What do you think? Yeah. Well, it falls onto its form, but how do they show that they're unbalanced? Like, what do they do? Maybe they buck, maybe, yeah, what else? What do they do? What are their two balancing poles? Their head and their neck, and what's the other balancing pole that a horse has? Because you see them a lot. You see them do it a lot when they're unbalanced, or what do you think is their other balancing pole? It's at the other end. What is it? Their tail. So when a tail goes up or down or swishes, that's their other end of their other balancing pole. Head and neck at one end. And so because we're bipeds, right? When you see a baby learning to walk, do they walk like this? When a baby learns to walk, what do? Like this, right? Or if we put you up on the railing right there, you do that too, right? Or that's why you see those poles in people that are on the high wire. Okay, those are their balancing poles. So what happens is, naturally, as the baby gets a little older and they're able to balance better, their arms are used less and they can walk like this, unless they're put up on that railing. And then all of a sudden we're like this again, trying to stay up, right? And then you see the gymnast who's been on that balancing pole for so many years that the whole idea is that they walk along it like this, and then they do things like this, and then they leap up, go over backwards, come down like this, and then you'll see them maybe go like that for a second, but they try not to, because it's points deducted from the performance if they look like they're unbalanced. You got that? So now, guys, we come to the next part of this, which is how do we then go from this animal that's now learning to balance itself to helping it to remain perfectly balanced all the time, because that's what dressage has the aim of doing. So we say to ourselves, we're going to go from different looks, in different bends, in different shapes, through different movements. Each one requires a different balance for itself, okay? And our idea is to create a perfect state of balance and attention. Remember that, okay? So now, in order to go from the walk to the trot, let's say, if we go from the walk to the trot, the center of gravity, the center of balance of the horse is going to want to go which direction? Which way? Forward. So that's the same. Look, I'm standing still right now, okay? And if I had a basket of fruit and I was living in Africa, or if I had any kind of a big tin of water and I was living in some place where I couldn't have something to put it on, where would I put it in order to carry it in the most effective way? On my head, because then it's right over my center of gravity. That's why we sit right behind the withers of a horse. That's their center of gravity, over the girth area, okay? So now, we know that as the animal goes faster forward, its center of gravity goes forward. We want to create a center of gravity that doesn't keep shifting back and forth. Like if you're riding a hunter or a jumper, you're going to keep moving forward over the center of gravity. The horse goes over the jump, we go way forward. The horse comes down, we come back into the saddle some. But we're always shifting to their center of gravity. Dressage has the aim of creating a perfect center of gravity underneath our seat that stays like this, where we, with invisible aids, produce a center of gravity underneath us that doesn't keep shifting all the time by its nature, all right? So now, we say we're going to go faster. We're going to go walk to trot. Here's what we do. We say, well, The center of gravity is going to go 10% more forward when we go from the walk to the trot by the nature of physics. In order to bring the center of gravity into a place where it's going to be the same when we go into the trot, we have to figure out what to do. And here's what we do. We take in our breath. Breathe in, you guys, right now. Sit up. Do you feel yourself get taller? Okay. Take in the breath, grow taller. You're going to now drive with your two legs, and you're going around to the left. Your inner leg's at the girth, your outer leg is behind the girth. You're doing your usual job of keeping the bend of the head and neck to the left, consistent with the bend that you've created in the horse's body. And now you're going to say, I'm going to drive you, but at that same second, I'm going to close my outside hand into a fist. And I'm going to close an imaginary door. That open would let you do the two things that we said that the horse would want to do, and that's speed up and bend more, right? But now closed into a fist says the door's closing, and the horse goes, oh, I know what that means. I yield to that action of the fist. But as he yields to the action of the fist, he's still being driven, isn't he? So as the door is being closed here, what do you think he's going to do with his hind legs if he's still being driven? What will his hind legs do? They're going to go under. In going under, how do they go under without then treading over the front legs? What do they do? Well, yeah, but when you say their hind legs go under, do they go under like this with a straight hind leg? What do they do more? They bend their hocks. What about the other joints? They bend all the joints in their hind legs more. So if they bend their joints in their hind legs more, what happens to their croup? It goes down. If their croup goes down, sorry? Okay, I will get her. Okay. If their croup goes down, what's going to happen to their front end? Okay? If their front end goes elevated, but they're, remember, yielding to the action of the outside hand into a fist, right? So the front end goes up, but they're still arched and round in that moment, aren't they? So it goes up from the withers and the shoulders. And as that happens, then what happens to the center of gravity of the horse? The center of gravity goes where? So you've driven, the front end goes up. Where's the center of gravity going? Backward. Okay? As the center of gravity goes backward, you say about 10% of his weight shifts backward over his haunch. Now, remember, we're going from the walk to the trot. So in that second, as the center of gravity has gone backwards, you're dictating through your seat and leg, go forward to the trot. 10% of his weight is going to now shift back forward. So wait a minute, you breathed in, close your legs, close your fist, 10% of the weight's gone backwards. In that second, you've driven and dictated to the horse to go to the trot. He goes to the trot, 10% goes forward. Where are we? Exactly where we were in the perfect walk. You get that? So that's the beauty of all of this, is that we breathe in, close legs, close fist. We create the displacement of the center of gravity further back, and in that second we create the new thing that is in our mind of what we want to create, and we'll talk about that in a second too. And then the horse does that which we desire, and then we usher them through by relaxing that driving seat back into a passive seat again, and relaxing that closed fist back into a relaxed hand, that then opens the doorway back up and ushers him through this doorway in a perfect state of balance and attention. And that, you guys, is called what? Say it loud. That's called the half halt.